What has impressed you about Texas Tech this year?
Well, the roster impresses me a lot. I think they had a good roster last year, and they certainly added to it. Their quickness at the guard spots, and they play to mismatches as well as anybody in our league. So they're a good team. You know, I looked at the net deal yesterday. If I could be off. Houston 3, Tech 7, and Arizona 9. Our next 3 games, and so, you know, great opportunity for us, but certainly we're playing the hardest part of our schedule.
I know you talked about it, Coach, but the idea of the fresh start, where was it born? I mean, were you just thinking about different things, and how did that pop up?
What? Where was it born?
I mean that's.
I invented it. You know, I think that is something that people talk about all the time, whether it be, you know, Coach Sutton giving a do-better talk, as he said it, or you know, anybody that's, you know, failed the first test, you know, well, I can't get that back, but gosh dang, from this point forward, I want to be this or that. I don't think that's unusual at all. So, and I've done it with players a lot. Not as much teams, but players a lot where, hey, so okay, you're, you know, 5 of 23 from 3 in league play. Well, you know, conference stats for you start tomorrow. You're 0 for 0. You know, just to try to give them a different, fresh outlook. But I'm sure I've done it before. I don't think it's anything new.
And has any developments on Bryson? How's he coming along? Has he been cleared for anything additional?
No, he has not been cleared. You know, he's having tests done coming up here pretty soon. But he has not been cleared, and hopefully he will be, so we can get him out there and see where he is. But at this point, we're being very precautious.
Coach, you kind of just talked about it, this being the hardest part of the schedule coming up. Ryland said it was kind of like a mini tournament run. It's kind of how you guys are approaching it, because you're going to face really tough teams in the tournament. Do you kind of like that mindset?
I haven't told them that, so that's good. Ryland said that. I didn't come up with that. I mean, so, but it is kind of like I didn't use the word mini tournament, but it is kind of a mini season, so to speak. So, you know, there's about, I don't know what the exact number of days were, 17 days or whatever to have 5 games in that time frame, 18 days maybe to have 5 games in that time frame, and how you do it in that 18 days will be a big determinant on you know, where you're seated and where you're going, and to make sure that you're actually in postseason play. So, you know, we're off to a nice start, but still, you know, we need to be 3-0, not 2-1.
I know Hunter's not going to score 32 for you every time, but what can he do to be more consistently toward the upper end of his offensive production?
I think Henry put himself in a position where he's playing closer to the basket. Hunter is a good mid-range shooter, but he's played to that too much this year, in my opinion, and that's our fault too. He needs to get to the free throw line some. He needs to, you know, if you look at percentages nationally, out of lane or out of a restricted area twos or long twos compared to close to the basket, there's a big difference, significant difference from a percentage standpoint. So I think him playing to the percentages, and we're not saying take away what he does. I'm not saying that at all, but to also do more of the other, I think would benefit our team offensively a lot.
You just mentioned seeds. It's not uncommon to track it all the way into January, you know, in years past.
In years past, I've
Right.
tracked it.
Yeah, but you're not doing it at all this
Not
year?
at all this
Yeah.
year. We're in the big group this year. We're not in the
Right.
the finite group.
Is that freeing at all to not?
Is that what?
Freeing?
I'd rather be in the other group.
Sure.
But you know, I'd say, and I could be exaggerating, 15 of the 22 years we've been here, we're looking at 8 teams. And of those 8 teams, who we not had early on. Now, you can't do that, because you'd be looking at, you know, there's 30, 40 teams out there, you know, that could potentially fall. We could move up this high, or we could drop, whatever. We're in the mix, but we're not in the small mix at the top of the seed line. So I haven't studied it this year.
Do you think Dewan and KJ will talk about last year's game to the guys who weren't here for the Tech game?
Yeah, they could. Hunt could too. There's, if they don't do it, it will certainly be brought up. I mean, they whipped us from start to finish last year down there. I think we tied it at 12, and then after that, I don't think we ever got it back even. So I don't even remember the last 7 minutes or so of that game. I actually, think there'll be some incentive for that, but it's a different team, a different roster, and that message will be relayed, but how it's received with only 3 guys that really probably played in the game may be a little different.
Do you expect their injured players back?
We're anticipating everyone playing, but I have no idea on their injury report, nor do I suspect I will know before Saturday.
Are you down to an 8-man rotation? And do you like what you've seen out of your guys?
I think we played 8 against Colorado, if I'm not mistaken. And, I'd like for Shaq to be healthy. And of course, Rocky's is the odd man out right now. But I'm okay with 8 as long as, those 8 guys are all contributing and helping.
Could Shaq be back at any point?
Yes, at some point. But I'm not sure Saturday. It's a situation where he'll just go as tolerated and deal with it when the season is over in whatever way he needs to deal with it. But even he'd be the first to tell you, I'd like to go if tolerated, but he says it's just been a situation where it's just been too painful for him to be able to be out there and play with remotely a free mind. And, the medical staff has confirmed all that. So, it's unfortunate and sad for him and sad for us, but he's going to be dealing with this the rest of the season.
I think between the Oklahoma State game and Texas Tech game, the rebounding, or Colorado game, the rebounding margin for you guys was vastly different. Did you see a difference from your perspective, from what you guys did between the 2 games, and what can you guys do to be
No, I don't
closer?
see anything that we did between the 2 games, but I see certainly our going after the ball. I thought there was a difference. The best rebounder is the one that chase the ball and go after it. And I thought Colorado beat us to way more 50-50 type rebounds than what we beat them to. Whenever a guy takes a 40-footer guarded at the end of the clock and it grazes the rim, and we've got a couple of guys leaking out because they thought it'd be a shot clock violation, they end up getting the rebound. Those are the type of things we have to eliminate. But we did not rebound the ball at all defensively in that game, and we've got to be much better.
And personnel-wise with Texas Tech, what are some of the things that stand out about McCaslin's team?
I think their guards are very fast. I think they're quick, and they can all shoot the ball. And then, of course, Williams was a nightmare matchup last year. They played switches, and he was 10 for 10, if I'm not mistaken, last year. And then, of course, Topping is a player that, could be the best player on, a lot of teams in our league. He's good. So they've got a really nice roster. They've done a really good job. They've got a really nice roster. To Gary's point, I don't know what that means from a depth situation just because of injuries, but we anticipate them all being available.
Bill, you talked about how tough these next 3 games are. Is there a stretch earlier this season of games that compares to it at all, or is this an open league of its own, these next 3 games?
I don't know that we played 3 games against 3 consecutive teams in the top 10. So I would say this would be a league of its own, so to speak. These three games in a row. We play good teams, but non-conference you play Duke, Carolina and Michigan State. I think we're back to back, but I don't know that we've strung 3 together like this. So this is probably the best it's been.
There's 3 games left. Who is the player of the year in the Big 12?
I don't know. I don't have, I guess I do have a vote at some point in time, but I'll wait till after the 3 games are over, and then I probably still won't say it publicly who I voted for, so. But right now, to me, I've always said, when Devontae was player of the year, or other guys were player of the year, I think there should be extra value to the best player on the best team. But I'm not saying that, at least extra value. Now that there could be a Kevin Durant, that was player of the year in our league, and they weren't the best team that year, and nobody would argue 1 second that wasn't deserving. But if there's not a clear-cut choice, I would say the best player on the best team should carry significant weight.
Has any coach stood out for that award?
Well, you could obviously say the team with the best record, so Kelvin. But I personally think Grant has stood out as well as anybody. If you're going to look at the teams in our league that have been a pleasant surprise, regardless of where they were picked, I think Texas Tech would probably win that award as much as anybody would.
There's somebody said Scott Pollard may be here. Will you love seeing him after what he's been through?
Yeah, I think Scott is planning on coming. So I haven't spoken to him. I know Gertie talks to him all the time, but yeah, I look forward to seeing Scott. It's it's a remarkable story, but to see somebody, when you think of a professional athlete, you're thinking of a picture of health, regardless, and then just shortly after that to go through what he's gone through and from the outside looking in, to have the attitude to fight it and the way he has, I think is great.
And Bob Huggins has said he wants back in. Are you all for that?
If Hugs wants back in?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think Hugs is great for our game. I don't know, I haven't talked to Hugs, so I don't know exactly the context in which it was said, but I'm sure it was said exactly in the context that you presented it. But I would love to see Bob have an opportunity.
In a pretty large sample size at this point, Zeke's numbers have been significantly better at home than in road games. Have you had situations like that in the past, and what do you think could go into that?
I think that there's been a lot of individuals that had better numbers at home than on the road. And if that wasn't true, then your road numbers as a team would be just as good as your home numbers are, but it's never that way, or very rarely. So, I don't know what's going on. I think he's taking the same shots. He maybe appears to be a little bit more aggressive at home than what he is on the road, but I don't know if there's a set reason on why. But there has been a significant difference, and I'm sure there's players on teams all across America where it's been a difference as well. But right now I'm just concerned about him being on a home game as opposed to thinking about anything else.
You guys got anything else? All right, thank you.
Thanks, Coach.